Hey there, subs and visitors. Today I want to talk about what we're currently witnessing take place on the world stage. Right now, we're living in an age defined by digital warfare and information manipulation, and the boundaries between fiction and reality are growing increasingly thin. What we're looking at here is a scripted collapse. We're seeing cyber threats, global narratives, the potential fall of the US economic system, and the deliberate shaping of global crises throughout cyber-enabled operations and coordinated media narratives. And as tensions rise between geopolitical power blocks, the line between organic economic decline and orchestrated collapse becomes harder to trace. And for those of us who are independent observers, we're quite clearly seeing a possibility that a large-scale cyber attack on the US economy may be framed as an act of aggression by Iran. And the justification for a narrative may hinge on a leaked intelligence form from WikiLeaks' infamous Vault 7, a trove of CIA hacking tools and techniques released in 2017. And ironically, many believe that the leak itself originated from within the US intelligence community. And if this is true, it raises troubling questions about whether the leak was a form of internal sabotage or a calculated setup designed to lay the groundwork for future strategic narratives. In such a scenario, Iran would serve as a convenient scapegoat. However, the blame just as easily could be redirected towards China, especially given the ongoing tensions related to trade, technology, and military influence. This redirection would not only justify economic retaliations, but also suggest the formation of a hostile alliance uniting Iran, China, North Korea, and Pakistan in what could be portrayed as a cyber axis of resistance against the West. As this narrative expands, it could include claims that Pakistan has acquired advanced cyber capabilities allegedly transferred by Iran that could threaten aviation systems, financial infrastructure, and critical defense networks. And this evolution of events begins to resemble a script unfolding with precision and purpose. Such developments would not occur in isolation. They would likely be accompanied by broader financial instability, a collapse of public trust in major banks, the failure of corporate giants, and the dismantling of established economic frameworks. This symbolism would be unmistakable. The fall of Babylon, a term historically and prophetically linked to the United States, long represented by the eagle. In its place, the world may witness the rise of a new global order under the banner of global cooperation. The dove, long associated with peace and the United Nations, would symbolically replace the eagle. Beneath the promises of peace, many may suffer as the power is consolidated into fewer hands and national sovereignty is diminished. The ultimate indicator of such a transformation would be widespread, undeniable economic disruption, and whether through cyber attacks, engineered crises, or manipulated narratives, the collapse would be comprehensive and irreversible. It isn't actually impossible to predict exact mechanisms or timelines, but we've all sort of been waiting for some kind of collapse. You know, there was talk about this geomagnetic disruption maybe taking place in 2023. Feels like we're 2 years behind, but there's a whole bunch of things that point more towards a cyber attack because they need to get the world behind this whole movement in the Middle East. And the downfall of the US-led financial system is not merely a consequence of policy failure. It's a meticulously scripted act in a broader geopolitical play. And in recent years, the global stage has been increasingly shaped by cyber warfare, economic instability, and complex geopolitical alliances. The Chinese embassy in Israel has urged Chinese citizens to return home or leave the country via land border crossings as soon as possible, on grounds that the security situation has deteriorated and Israeli airspace remains closed. And it's also been said that just days before Israel declared war, Iranian hackers reportedly breached Mossad's archive of VIP blackmail material, allegedly involving high-profile global figures. This development casts a new light on several recent events: Jeffrey Epstein's controversial death, Israel's sudden military action against Iran, and Prime Minister Netanyahu's abrupt and unexplained departure from the country. So let's go back 160 years ago from now, which brings us to 1865, when the major global events revolved around the conclusion of the American Civil War and its aftermath, including the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln. Right in the middle there, we have Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945. And if we add another 80 years, that brings us to this year. In 1979, 52 American hostages were held in Iran for 444 days after Iranian students seized the US Embassy in Tehran. The hostage crisis unfolded in the aftermath of the Iranian Revolution, which saw the overthrow of the US-backed Shah. The crisis ended on January 20th in 1981, shortly after Ronald Reagan's inauguration. 23 years later brings us to 2002, where tensions between the United States and Iran escalated due to concerns over Iran's nuclear program and President George W. Bush's axis of evil speech. The events of 2002 laid the groundwork for decades of tension and conflict between the US and Iran, particularly regarding Iran's nuclear program and regional influence. And here we are in 2025, where United States President Donald Trump announced that the United States Air Force and Navy attacked multiple nuclear sites in Iran. Trump called the moment historic for the US, Israel, and the world, and said Iran must now agree to end this war. After dropping the bombs, Mr. Trump said, "Now was the time for peace." But Reuters reported that an Iranian state television commentator declared every American citizen and military personnel in the region is now a target. And 167 years ago was 1858, where we saw the Orsini affair. The assassination attempt in 1858 refers to the attack on Napoleon III by Italian nationalist Felice Orsini. Orsini was part of a prominent Italian noble family with deep roots in Roman history and a significant presence in the political and social elite of medieval and Renaissance Italy. And the Orsini are classified as part of the black nobility, a term for Roman aristocratic families who supported the papacy and the governance of the papal states. Orsini's assassination attempt failed, but it had significant consequences. Napoleon III used the event to increase French influence in Italy, and in 1859 declared war on Austria, a move that ultimately contributed to Italian unification. And the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945 were a direct result of Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. And at the midpoint in 1941, there were several attempts to assassinate Adolf Hitler, notably Operation Spark, which is a code name for a plot by German officers to assassinate Hitler. Ultimately, this failed to achieve its goal. The plotters hoped that Hitler's death would spark a coup d'etat to overthrow the Nazi regime, but the failure of the assassination attempts led to the plots unravelling and the subsequent arrest and execution of many involved. So are we going to see an assassination take place? Well, the defense minister of Israel has threatened to assassinate the Iranian Ayatollah and also compared him to Hitler. It reminds me of the assassination of Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein, where these things are happening in the public eye. There's no secrecy about it. And were they assassinated? I guess we'll never know. The same thing with Jeffrey Epstein. Did he actually kill himself? And I could just as easily see this man being removed from the world stage. I mean, I don't see how he's going to live it up. I don't believe there's any redemption for this man in the eyes of the world. All of these events are very well scripted and orchestrated purely for strategic gain in order to put in place a new order and governance through global institutions, with the dove of peace replacing national sovereignty. And it's not going to come without significant human suffering, unfortunately. And in an age of constant news cycles and social media updates, it's easy to feel emotionally overwhelmed by the state of the world. While awareness is important, becoming consumed by events far beyond our control can drain our mental and emotional energy. So learning to detach doesn't mean that you stop caring. It means you protect your inner peace while staying informed. And the most radical act might be choosing peace internally, so you can think clearly, act wisely, and live fully. Detachment is not indifference, it's strength. So I continue to talk about it, but when I'm not talking about it, I'm not thinking about it, and I'm living my life. So be aware, but don't despair. Although reality is twisted, it's also scripted.